Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Take Time Out with Tre Mosley. I'm your host, Tre Mosley, and today I have a young man who there's a word, and most of you may not know it, and I can't even think of the damn word right now. Shows how much I'm prepared for the podcast. But you have certain people who will tell you that they see the world in sound, in colors. I have such a person here on this podcast, and maybe he will refresh my brain and tell me what that word is, because I am totally at a blank right now.
Synesthesia.
There you see, that's that. Make it easy for me. Yeah. So, if you're not familiar with that, we'll get into that and more. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brandon Crumley. B.
Oh, thank you.
What's good, man?
I'm so happy to be here, brother. Thank you for inviting me.
Nah, man, this is this is cool to get you on, because I know you for many reasons. We have friends in certain circles that are doing different projects, and you have lent
quite a bit
your magical mind and music to those talents, including the theme song for a certain animated series of my own. So this is cool to really just to get a chance to sit and chop it up with you. So my first question that I'm very curious about when it comes to music and the inner workings of your mind. When did that start for you? Some parents can see a kid banging on a drum or banging on a piano, and they're like, that boy ain't gonna do nothing. But then you have that one or two that can hear something, and then they'll go to the piano like, okay, bloop. No, it wasn't that one. Bloop. Okay, it was that one. And then all of a sudden they found all the notes from this melody in their head, and they played a song. Like, baby, that boy playing the piano. So it's like, how was it for you? Were you a prodigy? Did you take lessons? Like, how did it all begin for you?
I honestly, I can't remember a time where I wasn't doing that, honestly. But if I had to guess, I would say very, very young. And the interesting thing is, like, I grew up watching things like Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street and even video games. And I was very intrigued by music because I come from a long line of musicians. Like, my dad's a insane piano player, like got trumpet players and drummers and guitarists all in my family. So
wow.
I picked up the bug pretty early. And I think what really helped me was kind of what we were talking about earlier, which was synesthesia. And what I would do is I would sit at the keyboard and I would imagine notes as different colors, and it would help me remember the notes that I was playing. And I just never got out of that. And even when it came to me learning things like remembering people's names or like letters of the alphabet or shapes, or it really helped me when I was a kid, even now. So I even associate people's names today with like different colors and whatnot, so it might seem a little strange, but that's me.
Do I have a color?
Yes.
Really?
Believe it or not. Yes.
I'm curious.
It's yellow. But not like a bright yellow. No, but like a golden yellow for some reason. Yeah. It helps me remember your name. Yeah. And not just that, but like even certain vibes or certain energies that people give off, like it helps shape that color, So
that's real cool. That is.
I know it's weird.
I mean, I don't look at it as weird. So I've gotten to a point in my life now when people have certain things that define who they are, and they're always like, I know that's weird. No, that's not weird. That's you.
Oh, thank you.
That makes up who you are. So I don't think of it as weird, because trust me, I have some quirks that are very questionable, but that's just me. What's the first instrument you ever played?
Drums was my first instrument. We back in the 80s, remember like when your grandma, your mom used to keep like the coffee cans.
Oh yeah.
My grandmother used to keep her coffee cans, and she used to. I don't know if you remember when we used to have hangers, but like we had like they were like paper, and so my grandmother would break them, like break the white ends off of them, and they would
Oh,
be
gotcha.
drumsticks for me.
Nice.
So, so we'd have like all these coffee cans that we would set up as like different instruments, and so we just beat on them. I was doing that at like 2 years old.
So this man had a coffee can drum set.
Yeah.
I ain't even mad at you, bro. I am not mad at all. Now, to date, with drums being your first, how many do you play now?
3 professionally. I'd say 5, just recreationally. You know, my I would say drums is my first love, but the piano is the love of my life because I discovered jazz very young. So,
Okay.
I never got out of that. You know, I feel like the basis for all my creation begins and ends with jazz music because I'm not a genre specific musician. I tend to like every form of music there is, but there's just something about jazz that has like a stranglehold on me that I can't let go of. I love it.
No,
So yeah.
I know that just from stuff that I've heard, and like I said, the theme song that you produce for my show, I'm like, yeah, this dude on something different.
Oh man, appreciate that.
Yeah, man, it's dope. Let's take a moment to play a couple of things if Ryan the producer is ready for us. Um, So, we got one more. I finished my thought after this because okay. Because it got to the point I'm like, you know what, this gonna be a real short interview. We're just gonna play we just playing music for the rest of the show. Bruh, how do you come up with these compositions? Like, give us the anatomy of a composition,
um, I think it is important to know that I have no structure of how I make my music whatsoever. And what's interesting about it is I see my music as less of music and more so like crops in a field. Like I have a very gardener like approach to my music, and sometimes it'll because I see a lot of composers, not even composers, but just producers talking about the volume of music that they tend to make. Like they tend to brag about, I make this amount of songs in this amount of months or days, and that's not really my approach. I kind of allow myself to just be immersed in the quality of what I'm doing. And sometimes that can take days, sometimes that can take months, sometimes that can even take a couple of years. But I tend to allow myself to grow, evolve, change, and transform over time. But then there are very few moments where I'll start something and the music it'll take a form all on its own, and it'll become something much more beautiful than I could ever imagine, and I think that's what I really like about creating. Like I never create it all at once. It's always something that builds over time, and I'm always changing things, like whether it be sounds or the just ambiance to it, or just I'm always changing things. Like just those 3 songs are from 3 different projects. So
Wow.
for 3 different purposes. One was more so for the purpose of helping people like study, and I notice repetition and calming atmospheres help people like, create the environment to whether they're illustrating something or they're just studying for like homework or whatnot. I even incorporate myself within my music. So in that first track, you hear breathing, like you hear breath sounds, that's me going, and
okay.
so I'm recording myself doing that within that, so I can give you like a sense of relaxation while I'm doing that. So that's more of like an ASMR kind of project.
Yeah, I see.
The second one is from a project that's on Spotify called Moonbeam Dreams. And that's actually, I think, the intro song that I've done with a bunch of other musicians. And the last one is something that is from a previously unreleased project that I'm working on. And I'm very, very excited about that. But I'm going at a snail's pace working on that one.
Nah, that's cool.
So,
man.
yeah, I appreciate that.
Nah, I feel that as creatives, um, from folks that are on the outside looking in, they expect us to just churn stuff out. Like I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And
Yeah.
sometimes you may have that one thing, like as of late, and you notice I've been getting back into music production. And I have a couple of beats now where when I first got back into it, I was like every day, I'm like, I'm trying to, put this. I'm like, nah, I don't like how that sounds. Let me take that drum out, put this hi-hat in. Nah, it's too fast. And I'm mixing and trying to find that right thing. And
Yeah.
then there may be a week or 2 weeks that goes by, and I'm not even thinking about that. And it's not like, well, man, you got to stay at it every time you wake up. You should be thinking about no.
Mm-mm.
If my brain is in the process of creating something else, I'm going to give focus and attention and energy on that. That's not
Yeah.
to say I'm neglecting the other thing, but it's just not priority. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, that inspiration will come back like, hey, this would be good on that track you was just doing last month. And now I go back over and like, let me put that in. Like, man, that is okay. That's dope.
Yeah.
That works for us because if we start to tackle too many projects at once, We get disinterested. The final
Yeah.
product may come out rushed, and you're like, man, if I just would have took my time. And I think sometimes we're our biggest critic. Um, Not that we're perfectionists, but we just want to put something out that's good. So instead of trying to rush it and put it on someone else's timetables, like, look, as they say, not let me cook. Sometimes collard greens take a long time to cook
Yes.
for a reason.
Yes. Yes.
You don't fry collard greens. You let them boil and simmer, and then you drop a little season,
Mm-hmm.
do a little. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So sometimes you
Yeah.
have to give it the collard green treatment versus just frying something up in the pan. Um, do you ever feel that because you create the way you create, um, that some folks may feel that you're stunting your growth, so to speak?
Never. Never. I never think that because first and foremost, my music is for me. Like I'm not making it to impress people or to make them think or react to me in a certain way. My music that I make and what I create is first and foremost for me. And I just want people to share in my joy of creating. And so I never think of it with any sort of preconceived notion about what someone else is going to say or what they're going to think. Or I don't make tracks in the hopes that like some celebrity is going to look at it one day. As a producer, you understand this, right? Like some people, they're like, oh, I'm holding this track for Jay-Z or I'm holding this track for
Right.
Kanye. And I always thought that was kind of weird. But I never think about that ever. I'm always making music and wanting other people to just share in my joy of what I've created. I'm not, if I plant an orange tree, I'm not trying to impress my neighbor with it, but
Right.
I am going to want to, share, what's produced from it. So I think I think music should be shared and enjoyed, like just for the love of creating,
Yeah.
not for, I don't know, anything that people can try to, I don't know, gain anything from, like at the end of the day, I do what I do. I would do it for free. So I love what I do, and I just want to share um, a big part of who I am in music with other people. And if it's enjoyed, awesome. If it's not, I love it, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Right. Do you remember the first time you, um, sat in front of your workstation, no matter how old you were? Like you had you had your keyboard, or maybe you had some pads or whatever, and you put something together. And I'll take it even step further. Describe the first time you heard the first beat you put together, and no matter how long it took, you was like, all right, I've been playing drums since I was a kid. I know piano, I know this, I know that. Let me now put all of these influences into this pot, and I'm about to cook and create something dope. And then that first one that came out, how did you feel when you heard it for the first time?
I think because I don't have very many moments like that because I care more so about the arranging process than like the completion process, and it's mostly just because every time I complete something, I always take it right back, and I'm like, I could have done this or I could have done that or whatever. But
Yeah.
there was this one moment I had several years ago where there's this oh goodness, I think they're called Chill Hop. And they posted a song that I had in a playlist of theirs,
Hmm.
and it got like 2 million, like streams or whatever. And I sat back listening to it, and I started to cry because I really enjoyed what I made, and
Yeah.
just to see other people get enjoyment from it, I thought that was really really beautiful. I think that's one of the fairly recent times that I've done something. There's also another moment that I've quite recently made something that is it's unreleased, but I really, really enjoyed it. Just the arranging process, coming and bringing together the musicians to kind of make, or rather build what I've created from my own head, and
Sure.
watching other musicians like guitarists, string players, play back what I created in my head is just, that's a magical feeling.
I'm sure, yeah.
And I think that was the moment where I said, I might have something with this.
No, man. I mean, like I said, I've been a fan for a minute, and
Oh, thank you.
I'm very uh judicial when it comes to my music because
Me too.
I grew up in a house where music was very influential. My sisters did modern dance and jazz dance. My mom sang, and on the weekends when we cleaned up the house, something was playing in the background.
Yeah.
So, and my mom, I grew up uh at the decade before you. I am a child of the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And as a kid, so I was 10 years old in 84. And my mom would get up on Saturdays. I might be watching cartoons, and then all of a sudden she's like, turn that TV off, it's time to clean up. And I'm like, man, but then she playing Stevie, she playing Aretha, she playing,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, okay, I could clean and do a little something, and sitting there getting sick off the fumes from old English polished leather, and I'm like, but I'm cleaning, I'm dying on the inside, but I'm cleaning, and to this day, I have a collection of vinyl, you know, ever growing collection of vinyl. Um, I'm talking groups like War, uh, Rufus, and Shaka Khan, Tavares, Mother's Finest, you know, and I get that from her. And my dad had a big vinyl collection too. Um, so music has always been, no pun intended, instrumental
Yeah.
in my life. You know what I mean? And it's like is not too much that we do uh in this world that music does not play a part of. You can be somewhere
Hmm.
thinking. I'll give you an example. So let's say you calling customer service and they're looking up something on a computer. Look, if you give me just 1 second, and they always go do 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 do
Hmm. Get that elevator music.
all the time. And I think music is one of those universal languages that it doesn't get enough credit of how it can bring people together. You think about concerts where you got black folks, white folks, um, who maybe outside of that show, they might have been at each other's throats, but then they had that one common song. I beat your. Oh, that's the joke. You know that song? Of course
Yeah.
I know that song. And now
Yeah.
they having a whole conversation when the first time you heard it. Man, my girl used to send me tapes and I was locked up, and she always had this song.
Yeah.
Girl
Yeah.
too. Now they friends. It's like it
Yeah.
something is just very music is the glue.
Yeah.
To
I would say it's like I used to make a joke about this, but until I started taking it seriously, where I said, music is the bridge between like God and man. You know what I mean? Like it's like
wow.
it's the glue. I think
Yeah.
so. And it's one of the few things in this life that can connect all different kinds of groups of people without even saying a word. And that's what I love about it. Like it doesn't, like culture, like just anything, like it brings together so many groups of people who they may not even speak the same language. You know what I mean? Like, but just it people come together and they're just at peace. And it's for everything. Music permeates every part of our existence. Like you snapping, you walking, all of that is a pitch. Me tapping this table is a pitch. So
Yeah.
I love all of that. Yeah. So you're absolutely right about that.
Is rhythm. Sometimes when I'm sitting there thinking about something and I will start to hum, and it's not a particular song. It's just a hum. And then I'm
Hmm.
like, man, that's a nice little hum I'm doing that. And now I'm like, what if I can write something to that hum? Now I'm going to the keyboard like, all right, that
Yeah.
was that was in B. And before you know it, I'm like, I just put something together. Um,
Yeah.
who were some of your influences? I know you said jazz as a
Oh
genre
boy.
was very influence heavy, but if we could break it down individually to person or band or group, like who would you feel are some of your influences in
Oh
growing
my
up?
God. How long we got? Man, this is a very, very broad question. But yeah, I have so many different influences from so many different places. Um, First one is probably John Williams, who I consider the greatest composer living. Like
Absolutely.
everything that you remember as a child, like came from him. And
Yep.
what I love about him is in his pieces, you can always hear a bit of his other works in the work that he's doing. So, like when you listen to Harry Potter, you hear a little bit of Star Wars.
Star
When you listen
Wars.
to Star Wars,
Yeah.
you hear a little bit of Superman. When you listen to Superman, you hear a little bit of E.T. You listen to E.T., you hear a little bit of Hook, and and so forth and so on, and a little bit of Jurassic Park. And so he has sort of this like singular theme that I really, really love. I think my second, if I just just coming off the dome, I think just Prince is just he's the total package and what I think an artist like has the potential to be.
Yeah.
And what I love about him is everything he did was written, produced, arranged, composed by him and him alone. And
Yep.
so I think that is ingenious. Honorable mentions, probably Michael Giacchino, who he's done music for like The Incredibles and
Star
the
Trek.
Batman and Star Trek, and
Yeah.
I would put him like if like after John Williams, there's like Michael Giacchino and Hans Zimmer, you
Oh,
know.
oh yeah.
In the anime world, definitely Yoko Kanno, who
I knew you were going there.
my favorite. She's my personal favorite of everyone. Oh my God, like if you're talking about like an idol I would have, like she's probably that person on the list for me. Like I would lose my mind just to work with her.
Oh wow.
Um yeah, because I mean Cowboy Bebop, Across Plus, Wolf's Rain, just so many. And what I love about her is like every work that she does is so different. Like
Yes.
nothing sounds the same. I love that about her. Ennio Morricone. I don't know if you're familiar with Ennio Morricone. Like, for people that don't, he's the
He
guy
did
that created.
Robotech.
Yes. He, if you know, he is the originator of what is known as the tumbleweed theme, which is that da 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 womp
Yeah.
womp
Spaghetti
womp. Yeah.
Westerns. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
pretty much any Clint Eastwood movie you could think of in the '60s or any Western, he probably did the music for.
Yeah.
So just off the top of the dome, those are my favorites right now. I mean, you've got producers like, the Neptunes and Dre, Timbaland, those guys like that. Nujabes, I would say, is my favorite producer. Then guys like Flying Lotus, uh, uh, who else? Mad Lib,
Yeah.
Ninth
Okay.
Wonder, like Pete Rock, cats like that. Those are some of my favorites just off the dome because I get it from everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I heard so the piece you composed for me, um, the first time I heard it, and it comes in with the strings, and then by the time it really gets rocking, now you got these guitars and you got that in the background. I'm like, this dude is everywhere. And I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm trying to predict or think like what influence, who are the people that influenced this particular piece. So guitar, when you said Prince, I'm like, I definitely could see that. Um, and then because it was so drum heavy, I was thinking what drummers um would have, given you inspiration or influence. Um, I hear a lot of the jazz elements, that guitar with that, it gave me a rocks kind of vibe to it. And
Hmm.
then with the strings, that's definitely on some John Williams right there. So it's
Oh
like
man,
you just, like I said, you dropped everything in the
dropping
pot.
them in the box, man.
We're gonna make this musical gumbo and keep it moving. Um, let's move into now. So you're you're making these basically just what I call oral art, because you
Oh,
listen and you are
I'm gonna start
taking
using that. Thank you.
all yours, man. It's all yours. Oral art. There it is. But that's basically what it is. I mean, because it's moving. So they say pictures are moving art. Then music has to be oral art, and you are one of the top oral artists, at least in my book.
I
Um,
appreciate that so much. Thank you.
nah, man, it's they say it ain't bragging when it's true. So that's fact. Um, when you made uh your that, like you said, you don't really reflect on how the beat sounds after you make it, but you enjoy the process. But I'm pretty sure there has to be a few. I know you mentioned one where you saw it got like 2 million streams, and it touched you. But is there one or maybe a few pieces when you hear where you say to yourself, or you go like, "Well, you was a bad boy that day. You was in your bag."
Oh yeah. The funny thing is, a lot of these haven't been released yet. Like the ones that I really want to,
Yeah.
put out, because I just don't think it's time. And some of those things are connected to, like some of the work that, Gabe Kunda and I've been working on. And you'll really, really get to hear like what I really, really have been wanting to make, like for the longest time. Stuff that if I didn't know that I would make music later like this, I would be a fan of it, And
Yeah.
I just, yeah, there's more than a couple, but I've like hidden it from the world. I'm like, no, not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Just keep it on the just keep it at a slow boil, Like,
Making them
so,
greens.
but
I got you.
you know, oh yeah.
Now, who are some people that you've worked with? I know you do things for what a lot of folks don't know, like bumps and teaser music, and you also work with like brands. Like, how did you get into that? Because I think it's a part of the music business that maybe as of late people are starting to get into it with sync
Hmm.
licensing and things like that. But that's something you always been doing. Um, Talk to the folks about how you got into it and some of the brands that you work with.
Sure. When I first started, I had no idea what sync licensing was. I just knew that when I would make music and I would give them to artists, they would say that my music was too musical. And so I became very frustrated with that because
Yeah, I'm sure.
I didn't understand what they meant. And it was revealed to me that what I'm trying to make the music for is bigger than where I'm trying to place it. And
Hmm.
so I had a friend of mine who was like, dude, what are you doing with you got all of this music. What are you doing with it? And so I was like, I'm just, just working.
Just
And so
doing
he
what you
said,
do.
and so he introduced me to music licensing, and he was like, so I work for a company that does music licensing, and let me just throw some of these songs in the queue and see if people like them,
Yeah.
So he threw them in there, and I didn't even think anything about it, at first, like I had things like BMI and ASCAP stuff set up and whatnot, but I was just like, nobody's gonna listen to this, and about a month later, I look and there's a I'm getting a check from Sony, and I'm like, what?
About
And
that.
yeah, and so I got a check from Sony for like a commercial, just like a little ad or something like that. It wasn't very long, and then and it's very simple too. Like the sync licensing company that I work with, they just throw your songs in a queue. And companies that are looking for music, they can just go to an artist page, listen to the music, and just decide if they want to have it or not. And since then, I've done music for Vogue, for what is it? Snapchat, more Sony things. I just recently did a commercial with the Utah Jazz. Like they had a campaign where they were trying to bring back the old '90s jerseys.
Oh,
And
okay.
so like I did a commercial for them because one of my friends out in LA, he's a creative director for something that they do. And they hired a composer. They didn't like what he did. And so he was like, you know what? Like I know a guy. So he hits me up and he's like, right. So he hits me up and he's like, Brandon, he's like, if you can do this in 48 hours, I'll give you triple your rate. Wow. So I was like, all right. I was like, all right, well,
time to go to work.
Yeah. So I'm up like, 4:00 in the morning, making sure. And he's like, no, not. He's like, I like this, but not for this. Like, and if you have ever done anything for commercials, they're very, very particular because they have to be, So he's like, I like it, but not for this. He's like, I like this, but not for this. And then I'm like, well, how about this? And I play something that's more like orchestral and heavy drums. And he's like, that's it. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one. And so he's like, all right, I got it. And so he starts storyboarding this thing for me, like at 4:00 in the morning. I'm trying to stay awake. And he's like, okay. He's like, can we add like some synths right here? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, now I think I can do this. So I go grab one of my friends because he's like a way better, like keyboardist than I am. And he can interpret things in a way that I can't sometimes. And it's always good to, like help your friends who are also talented,
sure.
like throw them a bone sometimes. And so we work together on this thing. I come up with the arrangement and he executes it perfectly. And just like that, and they set up the commercial. They had the player fly in from LA to do the commercial, and all of this happened in a day.
Wow.
And they dropped it, I think, like the next week. And it's playing somewhere on YouTube now.
Oh, that's
so
great.
Yeah. So I love doing things like that. And recently, very within the last year, I've been doing a lot of music for people's gaming channels.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of cool. Bob Wolf at Wolf Den on YouTube. I've been doing music on and off for his channel, and his editor hit me up not too long ago and said, he's like, I use your music for every single video. And he's like, and I've been doing it for the last 6 months. Every single video your music is in, which I had no idea. Like I give it away and that's it. So I still like working with artists though. And I really, really hope to work with some really cool artists in the future as well though too. But I don't know. I want to do all kinds of music like forever.
What about do you see any scoring or composition for films, or have you done any scoring for films yet?
That is my ultimate goal. Like I would love to do a film, and I feel like I'm getting there because every single time, actually the rejection I got from artists is kind of what led me to scoring. Because I noticed every single time people would compliment my work, they wouldn't have an artist name in mind. They would have a scene from a movie in mind, or something they saw in a game or in oh, it reminds me of this scene, or it reminds me of this movie. And so I was like, okay, all right, God, what are we doing? So I started kind of shifting, from producer to composer. Yeah. And just started studying these guys, just studying everybody, and I think that for me is the biggest goal that I could have in the creative realm is scoring for film and television. I would love that. That's my dream, man. So thank you for asking.
Okay, well then let me take it a step further. Pick a franchise, any franchise, film, TV, games, anime, and the call came, the knock on the door, and they said, hey, B, so-and-so's not doing our music this year, and, we want to use you. That franchise would be.
Oh, I don't know about franchise, but I will say the company. If Disney hired me to do any, particularly animated, like if Disney hired me to do like an animated film, oh, I would lose my mind. Like I'm a Disney freak. So if they call me to do anything, I'd be down. But if they really hit me up to do something animated, oh, that'd be amazing. Like I would be all over it. Like anything. Like
I mean, because
anything. I don't care what it
Marvel
is.
is a part of Disney, so
Yes, that's why I'm saying that. Like with the
I'm just
company,
saying.
they got Marvel, they got Star Wars, you know what I mean? They got everything. I
Yeah,
would love to do that. Love it.
that would be fire, man. That's one of the things that I feel music has so many different properties that it can
Yes.
attach itself to. But then you talk about Disney, which in itself has so many properties it is attached itself to.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
you could pretty much be doing something for uh, a Disney short for this one thing, and then they say, "Hey, we got this whole animated series, and you're
Oh
now the
man.
music supervisor over the man."
Oh,
I ain't trying to get you hyped up, but I'm just saying that would
I
feel
dream about it, man. I dream about it. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
that would
You're
be
right on the
cool,
money
man.
with that.
But you know what? As a voice actor, I can truly understand that. Um, and like you said, I don't think I can narrow it down to a particular franchise, but if Disney came a calling, if Pixar came a calling, uh, if Warner Brothers came a calling for one of their
Oh,
DC animated movies, uh, if you're watching, I'm just saying.
oh,
He
that'd
can
be
do
crazy,
the
man.
music and I can do one of the voices.
Hey,
If you're watching, I'm
come
just
on,
saying.
dynamic duo. Let's do it.
Hey,
You
now
know,
let's get
let's
it
do
popping. Be like, I know that dude. Be like, hey, that's
Oh
my
yeah.
boy doing the voice. I'm
Be
just,
the easiest project to work on ever.
I
The
mean,
easiest yes ever.
we out here. We ain't doing that. We waiting on y'all. I'm just saying. But I want to ask you about um we talked about musical influence and inspiration.
Yeah.
Uh being the creative that you are, I know that music itself, or let me not assume, but other than music, what else inspires you?
Oh, I really, really love visual art. I think visual art probably inspires a good 85% of all the music I make. Um, I can't I can't illustrate or draw to save my life, but I'm so obsessed with how people illustrate, how people draw, how people animate things that it's always inspiring my music. So I never have like a creative block when I'm making music because I can draw it from anywhere.
Mhm.
And just the visual arts is just something that I love. So especially um, animation, just that medium of art is just something so very dear to me. So that's where I draw a lot of it from. Actually, it even inspires like writing for me as well. So which is a new venture for me that I've been into the last couple of years.
Has your family in any way helped you out with any projects? Like, if you call and say, "Hey, I got this track I'm working on. I could really use you to come in and help me out on a session or something."
You know, with the exception of my father, who is, if I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, he is definitely Master Yoda. Like
He
he's
that dude, huh?
insane, man.
Wow.
He is that guy. Like I'm afraid to play music in front of this guy. Like
Really?
yes, he's that guy, man. Like I'm that's the only person I'm afraid to play. Like anybody else, I'm like, oh, I can get you. But my dad, I'm like, oh no. Like I'm not worthy. You know,
How does
and
he feel about the stuff you put out?
he loves it, man. Like he's really, really supportive of it. And my dad is a crazy jazz and classically. He's everything that I'm not. Like he's classically trained. I picked everything up by ear. Like he's insane. So he played piano. He's been playing piano in church since he was like 11 years old. Like I played drums in church as a kid. So
Yeah.
that was very different for me, but he's so supportive. But my family, it's weird. It's like they all have creative abilities, but it's not their main thing. You
I
know,
got
like they're like, yeah, I can dance, but I'm a doctor. Like, yeah, I play, in my downtime, but like I'm a lawyer, and so. But I do have a cousin he's a super famous like drummer. He plays drums for everybody. So, but I would say I have a lot of gifted people in my family, but only a few of us have actually, gone all the way to pursue it as a lifelong career.
yeah.
But yeah, they're all very supportive though, even
That'd
though
be
they're like, yeah, I'd rather do something else. I'd rather play video games, but yeah,
that'd be
they're
a
all very
dope
supportive.
project, man. Be like,
Oh
look,
man, yeah.
let's just dedicate like 1 week where we can just put something together. The family project.
Yeah,
I'm just
you sound
saying.
like my dad. Yeah, that's what my dad says all the time. He's always like trying to hook that up. So I think I'm going to take him up on that offer very soon, though.
That's
When I get
cool.
the courage to actually play in front of him, I'm like scared. I'm like, dude,
Come
you're
on now,
amazing.
you already see he's digging your work. Don't do
He's
pops
that
like
good,
that.
man.
I get it though. Um, we in the VO industry, there are certain people that when you hear their voice, you instantly go,
Yep.
and it's a humbling business because you don't want to always be like, somebody will say, man, that was great that you did that thing for so and so. I'm like, I appreciate y'all. I did my thing. And then you go watch a cartoon or a game and you hear that person you always looked up to in VO. It's like, I'm good, but
Yeah.
that's why he or she is that dude. I do what I do, but then they do what I do, what that person does, and those people do, and can take. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Um, no, I remember Dave Fenoy. I had been a fan for years, even before I got into VO,
Okay.
and now to have worked on a project with him, I'm just like, did that just happen? You see in the credits, and it's like, that's me.
Yeah.
Look, it's Dave Fano. I work with him. It's crazy. Who were some artists that, um, if any, that if you got a chance to work with them, would be like, you know what, Lord, I'm good. You can just, yeah, I got nothing. I'm great.
Oh man. So all those composers that I named.
For sure. Yeah.
Who's like an artist that I would love to, because I'm such a keyboard crazy chord structure kind of person. I would love to just sit in a room with like Brandy and just like pick
Oh,
her brain, like not even record anything, just like sit there and just like listen to her for hours on end. Um, I think Halle Bailey. I think she has an amazing voice, dude. Like when I saw her in the Little Mermaid recently, I
yeah.
said, put her on the list. That's somebody I got to work with. Alex Isley. Oh man,
She is
I've been wanting to work with
dope.
her forever,
She
bro,
is dope.
forever. Oh my goodness, she's like everything that that I would want to play on the piano. Like I love her voice, man. She's amazing. Who else? I think I would really like to work with Pharrell because I feel like we would go back and forth on like
Oh, I could
chords and
see
stuff
that,
like
man.
that.
Y'all might create something that save the world around this
That would
piece,
be,
dude.
I think that'd be nuts, man.
Yeah.
Just sitting across and just because I know he's a chord heavy guy, so he's one of those like he plays chords and he's trying to replicate the feeling that he's getting from listening to them, and I
Mhm.
think we really vibe on that level. Yeah, those are the guys off the top of my head, anyway, just right
Nah,
off the
that's
jump.
that's a pretty good collection. Um, there's this one young lady who I've been listening to for the past couple of years named Samara Joy.
Oh my! Why didn't I say that? Oh my goodness! Oh, I feel so ashamed. I didn't
No,
say
man, you
her name.
good. You good.
Oh my
The first time
goodness!
I heard her, I thought she was somebody, my age. I'll
Right?
be
She's like
I'm
mid 20s.
49. I'm thinking, because I heard it and I heard it look, can't get out of it. I'm like,
Oh, dude.
that heft in her voice. And then when I saw her, I said, oh Lord, it's a baby. And
Yeah.
I didn't mean it in any detrimental way, but I'm just like, I had never let me not say never, but it had been some years that I heard a young lady with a grown woman voice.
Yes.
And and,
Oh
and
my
going back to
goodness.
who you mentioned, the last person I think I've heard with a voice like that was Brandy. Because when Brandy
Hmm.
came out, I'm like, that girl got a grown woman up in that
Oh
piece.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know, now different genres, R&B to to jazz, but yeah, Samara Joy, I was just like, wow.
Dude.
Uh, I got her on
Yeah.
vinyl. I didn't want to stream it. I didn't want to buy a CD. I'm like, I need to hear this the way it was meant to be heard, and dropping that. And my wife actually got it for me last
Oh,
year.
awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
she dope. She be looking out for me.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, Samara is it though for sure.
Oh,
Um,
definitely, man.
yeah.
Oh God, I love her. I remember listening to, there was a video that she went viral on. I think she was still in high school at this time. Like she was singing
Wow.
something at her school and that went viral. And after that, she was gone after that.
Ooh, yeah.
And
And the
man,
thing
I just
about it,
remember,
her dad, he can blow. Uh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
I'm like, she
Son,
just like you were saying how you like a certain you won't play in front of your dad. I'm like, but her pop,
yeah.
for her to be as out of this world, but then you like, yo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like they're nothing to play with, man. So yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, let me amend my list and throw out everybody and just put her in
Oh,
it.
just you know what? You can do that. Throw up on that piece. All right, my favorite part of the show. So, as you know, the show is called Take Time Out with Tre Mosley.
Yeah.
But in this segment, I like to ask my guests, you know, no matter what their occupation is, in your case is music. So when you've turned the pads off, turned the PC off, you put the keys away, how does Brandon take time out for himself?
Oh, that's very, very easy, my friends. What I do is I am done. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to go read a comic book or
Hey,
or I'm going to go play a video game.
hey,
I live a very, very simple life.
that's all good, man. I mean, because I think it's good for people, even though we are creatives, but it's also good to have an outlet from that as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, you don't want to consume all of your time into your endeavors. I feel like if you consume too much time into what you feel is a passion, then it becomes work.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. You never want it to be that, man. Like I think the reason I love what I do so much is because it's play for me. You know, like I feel like a little kid, like that's in this. All right, like it's perpetually playtime.
Hmm.
You know, like so I don't I feel like I'm building Legos when I'm making music or something like that. You know, so but yeah, you're definitely right on that. Right on the
Yeah.
money.
Well, sir, before we let you go, tell the folks out there how they can reach you, how they can listen to your stuff, because it needs to be shared with the masses. And if you
Oh,
ain't
thank
up
you.
on I Love Brandon, that's his moniker on Twitter. But you need to get on game, man. So let the folks know how they can reach you.
Oh, dude, you can go to EyeLoveBrandon.com and I spelled EYE, so your actual LOVE, and my name .com. And that'll send you to Twitter, Spotify, Instagram, all the social media sites that I cannot remember at this moment.
You heard the man, so go get them numbers up for your boy.
I
'Cause,
appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, the old saying, "The future is now." There it is, y'all.
Oh man.
Brandon, thank you so much, bro, for taking some time out, and I really do appreciate it. I know that with your schedule and all the things you're doing, that you's a busy brother, but I appreciate you stopping by and chilling out with your boy, man.
Dude, appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, man. I'll be back if you want me back anytime.
Oh, absolutely. Y'all heard it. We got it on record. So until next time, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Take Time Out with Tre Mosley podcast, and we will see y'all when we see you. We gone. Thanks for listening to the Take Time Out with Tre Mosley podcast, part of the Titan Media Network. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. To see the video version of this, you can find us on YouTube on the Take Time Out with Tre Mosley YouTube page. Thanks for listening, or thanks for watching. Either way, we'll see you next time.